Namaste and welcome to Alpha Mind Power channel. Today we are going to talk about one very important aspect of the mind, which is intelligence. A person's IQ. This is something which we keep talking about, particularly when it comes to youngsters or upcoming people who are just started their career or started their life. It's very important. We talk about how intelligent a person is, how his IQ, his or her IQ is so good, how they perform so well in their work. All this we talk about. But very often you will find that even a very intelligent person with a very high IQ sometimes gets criticized because of his other emotions which cloud his IQ completely, cloud his intelligence completely. So we are going to talk about what are the emotions which completely, I would say, even dissolve the intelligence temporarily from the mind of a person. The first and foremost is anger. When a person allows anger to overtake in his mind, then his intelligence takes a back seat and he will not know what he is talking or what decisions he is taking or how he is treating people. Many times I have come across people who talk about their boss or somebody in the house also sometimes, and they say, yeah, that person is very good, very intelligent, very kind, everything, but when he is angry for some reason, then I don't know where that intelligence goes. He becomes blind with anger. Anger does not only make a person blind in the sense he will behave in a bad way, it completely takes away that intelligence from the mind. Intelligence is something which makes us understand what is right, what is wrong, how to behave, how not to behave. It is that also, it's not only studies. So when the anger takes over in the mind, then the intelligence takes a back seat. So anger is the first emotion, I would say, which completely blunts the intelligence in a person's mind. The second one is hatred. When we talk about hatred is, it may look very similar to anger. Like somebody says, I hate this person. So you may feel he is angry with that person. They may look similar, these two emotions, but they are not the same. Now anger may come sometimes in the mind for some reason. Somebody did something or somebody said something or something went wrong, the person gets angry. But after some time definitely it subsides. So that is anger. But when it is hatred towards a person, then it is like totally consuming that person. It doesn't go out of the mind at all. Somebody says, I hate my mother or I hate my father or I hate my teacher. That is even more difficult. Most of the time you will see children, particularly students, they study those subjects well when they like the teacher. If they like the teacher, they study the subject well, whether it is maths or science or anything. But for some reason, if they don't like the teacher, maybe the teacher scolded them in front of the class, or maybe the teacher called the parents and told them that he or she is not studying well, or some reason, something can be there. It is all, in the teacher's eyes, it's something good she is doing. But if the student feels that he is let down by the teacher or treated badly by the teacher, he starts hating that teacher. And when a student hates a teacher, then he starts hating that subject also, the subject taught by that teacher. So hatred can again make a person completely blind, and his intelligence, everything goes, it takes a back seat and it doesn't seem to work at all. The third emotion which completely clouds the intelligence of a person is jealousy. Now jealousy is an emotion which can totally consume a person, because when a person is jealous of another person, then he is thinking of him 24/7. All these negative emotions are like that. And very colloquially in the earlier days, we used to say, when somebody is jealous of someone, we used to say stomach burning. Those days I never understood why we were saying stomach burning for jealousy. But once you come into the spiritual line and you understand how things work, how energy works, then you really understand that jealousy is something which consumes a person. It burns you from inside. So jealousy is definitely a very negative emotion, and it can blunt your intelligence, because when you are jealous of somebody, you will do things which you will regret later sometimes, or you speak things which you regret later. And you can look at other people and get motivated. You can look at someone who is studying well and say, I will also study well. Or someone who is performing well in his career and say, yeah, I should also come up like him. Getting motivated by looking at people is the positive side of it. But feeling jealous of somebody, like he is doing all this and I am not able to do it, that becomes the negative side of the same thing. So jealousy is a very negative emotion which can blunt the intelligence of a person completely. And the fourth one I will mention here. There are of course many such emotions. I have taken just 5 for today. The fourth one is what we call possessiveness. This happens between husband and wife. It can happen between a parent and a child. It can happen a lot between two friends. I've seen it again and again. When a person becomes possessive about another person, it simply means he loves that person more. The love is more, but then it results in a kind of terrifying passion, and he says, no, that person belongs to me. See, people are possessive about things also. That is another problem, but then I feel it is not that consuming like when they are possessive about a person. Even being possessive about things can sometimes result in problems, but that's nothing much. But when a person is possessive about another human being, then he is so consumed that he is all the time watching that person. He feels he owns that person. So if the other person talks to somebody also, he gets upset. If the other person goes somewhere or does something without telling him, he gets upset. And all the time he is worrying about what the other person is doing, where he or she is, whether he will lose control over that person. So possessiveness again is an all-consuming emotion. And it makes the mind crippled. So intelligence, it cannot work at all. When a person is possessive about somebody, then his intelligence, his normal thinking, logical thinking, everything takes a back seat. So that is the fourth one. And the fifth one, of course, when I talk about the fifth one, it is grief. We cannot say it with vehemence, we can only say it with sympathy, but still, it is also another very negative emotion. When a person is going through a grieving period, like we say somebody passed away in the family or someone who was very close to that person suddenly passed away, then definitely there is a lot of grief, and grieving is required because that helps to heal that pain. So there is a period when anybody grieves. It can be a few days, it can be even a couple of months, 3 months, 4 months, but at some point one would accept the fact that this person is no longer there and slowly start living his or her life and come back to a kind of normalcy. That is what we normally see and we normally expect. But with some people, what happens is the news of the death of a very dear person, near person, it can create so much sadness in the mind, so much grief in the mind that their intelligence completely goes out of the window. They will not be able to perform, they will not be able to talk properly or take a decision properly. Throughout 24/7, they will be only thinking about this loss. Now that is also not good. Grieving is right, grieving is required, but after a time, one has to come out of that state of mind. Otherwise, one cannot live his or her life. So that is why I feel grief is also another emotion which can totally blunt the intelligence of a person. So these are 5 emotions I have mentioned. There can be many more also, but at least these 5 are what we keep seeing very often. So be aware of this, and whatever may be there, your intelligence should always work at its best, because that is very important. Only then your logical mind, your belief system, your functioning, your performance, your behavior with other people, your relationships, even your health, everything can be good only when your intelligence is working at its best and keeps you as a balanced person. So think about it and let me know how you feel about this.